Welcome back everyone. I hope you guys are all staying healthy and safe. In today's video we're going to go over my latest mod on the 3rd Gen Tacoma, and as you guys can see, it's the Bestop Supertop 2. And before we go over it, come on, how good does the truck look now? Look at that. Yeah, baby. Come on, how good does the truck look now? The black and white, I'm digging it. Let me know what you guys think down below. Now, as some of you guys may know, I used to have the RSI Smart Cap on the Tacoma. Pulled that off a few months ago when I went through and completely redid the truck, you know, right before the 35s and all that jazz, the suspension. And over time, I was running the OEM hard trifold on here. It's great, it is OEM. However, over time, I was looking for an alternative to the RSI Smart Cap, as I was wanting to be able to run more stuff in the back and just to be able to carry more of a cargo load in the back. And I didn't really want to do a hard shell in the back like a fiberglass or a steel one didn't really want the extra weight, didn't want to spend the money on it. I will not be running a rooftop tent on top of this, so this Bestop Supertop 2 was the perfect solution. Now, Bestop does have the Supertop 1, which is a little bit less expensive. However, with this one, it's got a lot more features. So one of the things I really like about this is that, as you guys know, on my RSI Smart Cap, I never use the side windows, so we don't need them on here as well. It is super simple to pull this thing off, pull the windows off. You know, we got these little zippers. Unlatch this here, and we can get access full to the inside of the truck bed from there. What's really nice is also what we can do is to completely change up the configuration of the truck and make it look better. And, you know, let's say, you know, we are at the lake or at the beach and we just want to, you know, have easy access to the back here. We can just roll this guy out, or on the campground. And as you guys can see, we just clip this guy on right here. And then to put it back down, we're just going to zip it down. Clip it in on the bottom. Now for me, since I do like to go through and always change up my truck, this is perfect because I can pull the sides off and it'll just, you know, you'll see the, you know, cross beams in the truss system. I think it looks, you know, pretty killer. Also, to take this thing off, it takes like less than 5 minutes. It takes actually 2 minutes. You just unclip it and you can pull it off. And also, if you are running like a really tall load or a bike or whatnot, you can actually pull this guy all the way forward. So far, I'm super pumped on this little Super Top. I'm out here, it's super windy, it's extremely dusty, and you know, there isn't really any dust that's being stuck on here, which is usually a big like concern with like canvas. And also, aside from this having a huge like utilitarian, you know, benefit, in my opinion, it just looks killer. For the install, took about an hour and a half to 2 hours, so you know, we'll get into that here in a little bit. If you guys are looking to pick one of these guys up, I'll drop you a link down below. Bestop, they're a huge brand in the Jeep market. I'm super pumped that, you know, they do have this for us truck guys as well. Well, without talking too much, let's get into the install. First up, I'm going to remove the OEM trifold. It's 1 bolt and this guy just pops off. Pull all the components out of the box, and referencing the included parts list to verify that all required parts are included before starting the install. I like to lay everything out in the installation rotation before getting started. First, we will assemble the side rails by sliding the rails together and securing them using the provided set screws. Make sure to reference the install instructions for part numbers for left and right rails to ensure proper assembly. Up next, pull off the white backing paper from the foam on the rails and lay the rails on top of the truck bed plastic bed protector, starting with the front and the rear and then the sides. Next, attach the side rails to the front and rear. Simply slide the side rail assemblies in. Ensure that the ends of the front and rear rail extrusions are aligned with the tongue of the attachment feature where the tongue bends and small corner protrudes. Go through and center the full rail assembly with the bed width. And now we can install the upper and lower clamp assembly starting at the front. We will start by removing the end caps from the track system, and next we will slide the provided track bolts into the deck rail. Make sure that the track bolt is oriented so that the threaded hole is on top. The track post should be located 6 inches from the end of the front side rail, so we will measure it out and move the top clamp to center it at 6 inches as a reference point. Up next, we will attach this lower clamp to the deck rail system. I will start by taking this 1.5 inch long bolt and sliding it through the lower clamp right here. This can be a tight fit, so you just need to finagle it in there. Then up next, we will throw on this 1/2 inch spacer, and we will hand tighten this lower clamp to the deck rail system to the little track block. Up next, I'll go through and do the same on the opposite side by tightening down the lower clamp. We'll go through and measure, make sure that we are 6 inches from the front of the rail, and then we'll go through and tighten the lower clamps down. Align the upper clamp to the lower clamp, and using the provided hex bolt, tighten down the clamps together. Up next, complete the same steps on the opposite side of the truck. One thing to know is that the lower clamp may need to be shifted and moved a little bit forward or rearward to make the installation of the upper clamp easier, like I'm doing here. Next, we will repeat the exact same process on the rear. The only difference is that we will need to center the clamps at 11.5 inches from the rear of the side rails. And also the top clamp will not be pre-installed into the rail, which is not a problem, as we will just need to pop it in. And finally, we will just go through, tighten the rear clamps down, and we are all good here. Up next, we will assemble the bows using the provided bow couplers. The long couplers will go into the outer bows, or the front and rear, and the shoulder couplers will go into the inner bows. For easier installation, slide all bows and couplers together before snapping the spring clips into the holes. Also, before attaching the couplers, make sure to pull the bond coat straps out and away from the bows. Up next, using 2 people, we will place the folded bow assembly onto the side rails. Make sure that the pivot swing arm braces are on the lowest bow. And pop the pivot bearings onto the receiving holes on the inside of the side rails. Next up, go through and unfold the bow assembly. And then we'll go through and pull back on the pivot knuckle release knob and snap the pivot arm brace into place on both sides of the truck. And then finally, we'll move the bow system up and we will drop down the lever and lock it into place right here on the provided knob. Now we are ready to throw the canvas onto the bow system. Up next, I'm going to put the soft topper into place by draping it over the bow system with the clear window facing forward. Up next, we will slide the sleeve at the bottom of the window into the front rail. If you are having issues sliding the sleeve in, you can pull the rail off by pushing it forward, which will make this install a lot easier. Next, we will tuck the plastic tabs at the bottom of each corner of the top into the slots on the front and side rails. There will be 3 tabs total on each corner. Go ahead and repeat this process on the opposite side, and then we'll move on to the rear. Next, from the inside of the truck bed, we will attach the topper to the bows using the Velcro straps on the middle 2 bows, and we will be utilizing the snap locks on the outer 2. Up next, tuck the plastic tabs at the bottom of the curtains and corners into the rails at the back of the topper. This will be the same process as the front. And keep in mind that doing this install at 72 degrees or higher, or letting the topper stand in the sun for about 15 minutes prior to the install will make this process a lot easier. Finally, we are done. At this point, you can go through and zip up your side panels and install the rear window using the zipper and the Velcro. In states which require a third brake light, we do have the option of installing the provided third brake light here. For this install, we will start by feeding the wiring harness through the slit at the top of the fabric. Now, if this is being stubborn, we can use a utility knife to make the slit a little bit wider, about 1 inch wide. Then we will slide this guy all the way through. Next up, we will slide the wiring harness through the inner side of the fabric, also through the slit, like so. Up next, we will use the provided hardware to secure the light to the topper. We will start by securing the screws to the light, then we will push the screws through the fabric. One thing to note is that you will need to pierce the fabric for the screws to go through, then attach the provided washer and nut, and then we will go through and tighten these guys down. Up next, we will feed the wiring harness through the sleeve at the top of the fabric. If this is being stubborn, you can use a coat hanger to help out. However, we were able to do it by hand very easily. Once through the top, we will do the exact same thing on the side right here and just pull it all the way through and make it nice and tight. Next, connect the light harness to the provided harness extension. Then we are going to feed this below this plastic piece, which will drop the harness down behind the bedside. Next, remove the taillight and feed the wiring harness through the same location as the OEM wiring harness. Once we pull the wiring harness through, we are going to cut it down to our desired length. Now we will tap into the driver's side taillight with the provided wiring tabs. We will start by unplugging the center light bulb. From the Bestop wiring harness, the black wire will tap into the white-black wire on the OEM harness, and the red-black will connect to the solid blue wire on the OEM harness. Once the harness is tapped, test all your lights, make sure everything works, then reinstall your taillight, and you are all done with this install.